Today, Mumbai received over 270 millimeters of rainfall in just 4 hours. This has flooded roads and railway tracks in the city, disrupting flights and local train services. The downpour has forced schools and colleges to be shut. But it's not just India. Brazil has seen unprecedented flooding as well. Heavy rain and thunderstorms have caused havoc in Switzerland and northern Italy over the past week. Switzerland saw more than 100 millimeters of rain. And such events have been unfolding across India and the world with increasing frequency. Climate change is real and here. What needs to be done to stop it or slow it down or cope with it? Joining me to discuss this are Ramesh Negi, President of the Integrated Mountain Initiative, Air Vice Marshal G.P. Sharma from SkyMet, a private weather forecasting firm, and in the News9 Plus studio with me is my colleague Deepak Badana. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show. AVM Sharma, I want to start by asking you this. What is nowcasting and why do you think nowcasting needs to be introduced into weather forecasting now, given the fact that how rapidly weather patterns have begun changing in the world?
Okay, see, the nowcasting means weather which is likely to take place within the next few hours. Okay, so that is what we term it as a nowcasting. Like Mumbai you mentioned, the major intense rainfall activity that was between about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock to 5, 6 o'clock, just about 4 hours when it dumped so much of rainfall. So nowcasting is when you predict or you intimate this type of a rainfall activity in the next couple of hours, next few hours. That is amounts to nowcasting. You see, the means of forecasting which we otherwise have, obviously it will be very difficult for those means to catch a rainfall of this nature, extreme rainfall of this nature during the period as such. It's only nowcasting which can give you little more information about the type of event and the type of rainfall which is likely to happen in the next few hours. Okay, so that's possible, surely possible, but then having it in advance, say more than 24 hours or so, the timing becomes rather difficult. You can catch the event all right, catch the signatures all right, but to be specific with the timings or so, you got to take resort to the nowcasting, and for that you have the weather radars. Yes.
So weather radars would mean investment in a lot of infrastructure, the kind that you mentioned, weather radars, sensors and all that. I want to bring in Mr. Negi at this point. Mr. Negi, what is the new kind of infrastructure that India needs to deal with these kind of unpredictable weather patterns like flash floods or cloud bursts of the kind that we've seen?
Yeah, I must say that the perception about floods is different in cities like Mumbai or Delhi.
Yes.
Perception is very different in the Himalayas, in hills, and the perception is very different in rural areas of Bengal or Bihar or UP.
Yes, yeah. Tell us, Mr. Negi, why it's different. It's a very important point that you raised. We have a city-centric view of things, but you have obviously you're a mountain specialist.
In cities, we only see the discomfort to the traffic.
Yes.
And loss of business to the industry, closure of the airports, that is always monitored. But in Himalayas, in the hills and rural areas, we never see the loss of ecology.
Right.
The agriculture, fertile land which gets washed away, yes. The landslides happen only in the hilly areas.
Right.
And in the rural areas of UP or Bihar or Bengal, Odisha, similar is the story of loss of their agriculture productivity. And the biggest crisis there is a health crisis because the drinking water gets polluted.
Right.
So these are very different perceptions, but one common thread is the climate change.
Right.
Now, we don't want to get back into the reasons why the cutting of trees in Brazil or Indonesia or even in India is causing it. That is fine. But very important is how to have a long-term strategy to really curb it, again in a long-term perspective. Nothing is going to happen in 20, 30 years so easily. So city perspective is different. I have worked in Delhi, handled drainage and floods for 4 years. Here, any rain more than 2.5 mm per hour becomes a disaster for Delhiites. because the traffic comes to standstill. And the reasons are very many.
Yes.
I'll just dwell on two reasons. Firstly, about 50% of Delhi is unplanned.
Yes.
We have unauthorized colonies, rural areas. Then there the drains are never clean. They're full of debris, plastic, garbage. And in the elite colonies, which we saw this time in Vasant Vihar or Vasant Kunj or Defense Colony, the MCD drains which are there have been covered by the residents, and they have made car parkings on that.
Right.
Now
right.
the drains can't be cleaned. So that is a public, we have to have a perception, consciousness that yes, if water comes, maybe because of our doings, it's going to stay there for 2-3 hours and things will be better. Mumbai is a little different.
Yes.
It has a high tide also. Their issues are very different. And
absolutely. Mr. Negi, very quickly, this point about nowcasting and the kind of technology that you need to bring in to predict weather patterns more accurately. What are the kind of investments you think that need to be done in that? I mean, given the fact that you mentioned that point, it's well taken, the fact that, floods have different impacts in the mountains, the plains, and of course, cities. But what kind of technology do we need to acquire to make these unpredictable weather patterns more predictable?
I would just say that to make them more predictable, yes, science has its own limitations. But we have seen some experiments done in Nepal through ISIMOD that it is, again, we can definitely reduce the pain of the tragedy by having good monitoring mechanisms. If the floods take place or there is a cloud burst, then downstream people can be informed. So work is going on in that ground that yes, in a river basin, in a particular basin area, so one can have that monitoring system where people-to-people connect is there. This is being tried in Nepal, and now after last year's tragedy in Himachal and in Sikkim. So there is an effort on that, but there is a very big issue of the resources. As the speaker before me mentioned that we have technology, the state governments, especially the hill states, are very poor in resources. They will never have resources to have that. And that's where now we have a 16 Finance Commission, Government of India, which wants to supplement the state government's funding. This should be highest priority, especially the climate-related disaster monitoring and mitigation should be a very high priority in the agenda of the 16 Finance Commission.
Absolutely, it should be a high priority indeed. Deepak, we're in July, and in the last 7 months, we've gone from near freezing temperatures in Delhi to record 50 degrees heat, approaching 50, 52 in one station which appeared to be damaged, but a record-breaking heat, record cold, and now thunder showers, cloud bursts and all that, all in the span of 7 months. It's like, living an entire, list of extreme climate scenarios in just 7 months. You think we've kind of missed the bus on global warming and all that? It's too late for us to do anything but to kind of cope with climate change. It's a reality. It's the elephant in the room.
I think climate change is already here, as you just said about it. But one of the things that escapes me is that we seem to have done nothing on the front of managing these situations. For instance, Bengaluru, just a couple of months ago, was facing drought-like conditions where there was no water. Now there's a deluge. Last year also, Bengaluru was flooded. So what brings to mind, to me at least, is I think there should be some sort of investment in managing this scenario, rather than just as much as warning systems are necessary. Yes. I think there needs to be some concrete steps towards managing it. For instance, Ahmedabad has something called Khambati wells.
Yes.
These are wells which are designed to contain floodwaters and to use them to recharge groundwater sources. I think something like that could be extremely beneficial in the floodplains, in the Indo-Gangetic plains.
Yes, yes. Right. Let me ask AVM Sharma this question. That AVM Sharma, the fact that we were just discussing that it's quite possible that we've missed the bus on climate change, and we're already in the middle of unprecedented change as far as global warming is concerned, what can we do now? What are the 2 or 3 major things that a country like India, a developing country like India, can do to mitigate the impact of these forces?
The climate change, as the speaker also said, it is there. Okay, there is no denial. But then, what is different is we are not doing enough. We are possibly on the track that we have to adopt ourselves to this climate change, okay, and then adopt some means for its mitigation to build resilience towards this. As far as the climate change is concerned, nothing much is being done, okay. And even if I start doing today, okay, it will take decades for it to fructify, and then actually, then on ground we see that the things are under control. Last 12 months, they have been hotter than their previous record. June this year was hotter than previous June, and it was record time. All 12 months, last 12 months, they have been the hottest ever. Okay, the 12 months average, last 12 months have been 1.64 degrees Celsius higher than the pre-industrial era. That's about 1800 to 1850 or so. This is the scale. This is the it's an alarming rise which has taken place, these temperatures, okay. And though, yes, we have been hearing that a lot of meetings, COP 23, 24, 25, all right, nations committing something that will be done, but then practically, unless we do something seriously about that, I think another couple of decades we will see more number of calamities, okay. At the moment, you see, everything we cannot blame on climate change, all right, but then there are multiple factors which come into play to have extreme weather events, and that's a prolonged duration, okay. Only climate change will not, every small scale things, even if a cloudburst happens in somewhere in the mountain, I would not like to link it with the climate change. Localized small scale events, we are in the tropics. Right. Tropical countries, geographically, we are in a pocket wherein you have all scales of weather events, small, yes, mesoscale, micro scale, macro scale, all these are. We are more vulnerable to that. Right. You said, what are we going to do about it to control it? The only mantra for this is, you see, most of the difficulty which we are facing, that is because of fossil fuel burning, okay? Right. And that is also happening more intense in some pockets. Unless we control that and seriously adopt all those measures which have been suggested, not once, or a number of platforms, we go about it seriously, then only possibly, if not now, maybe after 30, 40, 50 years, we see the visible changes of.
Right, yes, absolutely. Mr. Negi, at this point again, that we keep talking of climate change, but has the climate really changed and there's nothing that we can really do about it, especially with fossil fuel burning? Has that bus already left the station, or has that ship already sailed?
That is true. I don't think we can go back now. What is important is that we can have resilience and mitigation measures. We are seeing in cold desert like Leh Ladakh, the flooding happening.
Yes.
Now, glaciers are melting, and because of melting glaciers, the lakes are being formed, and then there are floods, which we call gulfs.
Yes.
So we have to really be prepared to monitor them, that how the glaciers are melting and how many lakes are being formed, and how those lakes could be punctured well in time before they bring disaster down.
Yes.
It can happen that on a very sunny day, you have flood anywhere downstream. So we have issues in the Indus Basin, we have issues in Ganga Basin and Brahmaputra. And here, the maximum number of glaciers are here in the Ganga and Indus Basin on the western side of Himalayas. And it is a time bomb ticking.
Time bomb ticking indeed, Mr. Negi, and that's something that we should all worry about. Mumbai is underwater. It happens every other rainy season, but the point that Mr. Negi made was that we're sitting on Himalayan time bombs that are ticking, and that's something to watch out for. This is a story that we've tracked in the past as well. Climate change is here to stay. The climate may have already changed, and now it's only for us to mitigate and to learn to live with it, to cope with the changed climate that we're living in. But thank you very much for joining us this evening, Mr. Negi, Air Vice Marshal Sharma, and my colleague Deepak Badana.